All right, Shalom. I want to start out by giving all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from. And I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. I just want to go into, a couple articles that I came across. And bring out a couple of scriptures. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying and straight to the point. And this first one is from CNN. And it says more than 100 dolphins dead in Amazon as waters hit 102 degrees Fahrenheit. It says more than 100 dolphins have been found dead in the Brazilian Amazon amid an historic drought and record high water temperatures that in places have exceeded 102 degrees Fahrenheit. The dead dolphins were all found in Lake Tefe over the past 7 days, according to the Mamara Institute. Slovakia, if I didn't pronounce that correctly, says a research facility funded by the Brazilian Ministry of Science. Says the institute said such a high number of deaths was unusual and suggested record high lake temperatures and an historic drought in the Amazon have been the cause. The news is likely to add to the concerns of climate scientists over the effects human activity and extreme droughts are having on the region. It's still early to determine the cause of the extreme event, but according to our experts, it is certainly connected to the drought period and high temperatures in Lake Tefe, in which some points are exceeding 39 degrees Celsius, 102 degrees Fahrenheit, the Institute said in comments carried by CNN affiliate CNN Brazil. It's pretty much, over 100 dolphins were pretty much found dead, in the lake, in the Amazon, because they're saying pretty much, it's due to, droughts and all these things. But ultimately, it's the Lord doing these things. But, on the smaller scale, ultimately, Esau Edom, is the cause of, a lot of animals pretty much die, So I'm going to go to the book of Joel chapter 1. I'm going to start at verse 18. And it says, how do the beasts groan? The herds of cattle are perplexed because they have no pasture. Yea, the flocks of sheep are made desolate. O Lord, to thee will I cry, for the fire hath devoured the pastures of the wilderness, and the flame hath burned all the trees of the field. The beasts of the field cry also unto thee, for the rivers of waters are dried up, and the fire hath devoured the pastures of the wilderness. So yeah, pretty much they're saying, there was a drought that took place also, that may be the cause of death, to these dolphins. Because ultimately, even the animals, they're mourning as well, under this man's system and pretty much his oppression. Because we know Esau Edom, he does his deforestation, as well. But, this man has to be stopped because the whole earth is suffering, under his rule. Slakia, bear with me. All right. It's in the right chapter, book of Romans, chapter 8 and verse 22. And it says, for we know that the whole creation groaneth and travail and pain together until now. So yes, everyone on this earth, from the nations, even to the animals, they're groaning, because this man is pretty much oppressing the entire earth, to go to the book of Job, chapter 9, and verse 24. And it says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, wherein who is he? So yes, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, is pretty much in charge. He's running the earth right now, and he's destroying it. This is why the nations, are mourning. This is why even the animals are mourning. This is why you hear about, things such as this. Now they said they found, these dolphins, dead, but, you also have certain sea animals, beaching themselves. You have whales that'll beach themselves, sharks, Slovakia, pretty much because the earth is polluted. The waters that they're in are polluted, because they have all that plastic and these microplastics, that are floating around. This man has to be taken out. Then real quick, I'm going to bring this out. It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 29 and verse 2. And it says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. So yes, right now the wicked is in power. So pretty much the whole earth is suffering under this man's oppression. But when the righteous are in authority, meaning the nation of Israel, once the nation of Israel gets back in power, the earth will pretty much be at peace. It'll be at rest, because this man is destroying this earth, This is why you hear about things like this, hundreds of dolphins, 100 dolphins pretty much found dead in a lake in South America, So that's all I'm going to bring out on that one. Then I wanted to bring this out as well, which I thought was kind of funny. It's from the Washington Post, and it says China takes back pandas from zoos in U.S. and U.K. Says China is expecting its giant pandas back. The black and white guests, star attractions in zoos in the United States and Britain are expected to return to their home country by the end of next year. And what analysts suggest is a possible change in tech in China's approach to panda diplomacy. Says in Washington, the National Zoo's 3 pandas are scheduled to depart for China by December 7th, as their loan agreement expires, leaving just 4 in Atlanta who are due to leave next year unless a new deal is reached. Britain will lose its last 2 pandas in December, as will Australia next year if an existing agreement is not extended. There are currently no agreements to replace any of them. Without an extension, the United States faces prospect of having no giant pandas for the first time since 1972. This is perhaps Beijing's way of signaling to the West that they may not be very happy with how things are going, said Shiming Tan, an associate professor at the University of Nottingham in Malaysia, who studies panda diplomacy. The term used to describe Beijing's decade-long strategy of gifting or lending the bears in the hope of building relations with other countries. So yeah, pretty much you have Slovakia. But pretty much, you have China, they're taking their animals back, which pandas are native to China anyway, Slovakia anyway. But, it's just funny to me because that just goes to show you how angry, China is with the U.S. that they're even taking their pandas back, I thought that was hilarious, but hey. Says Beijing has grown increasingly frustrated with how relations between China and the West have deteriorated in recent years. Tan said, "This may be one way of telling people that you're not treating us very well, so maybe we'll pull out our pandas." He added in a telephone interview Thursday, says the Memphis Zoo's pandas left in April and the San Diego Zoo's in 2019. After the departure from the National Zoo, scheduled for December, giant panda fans will need to travel to Georgia to admire the pair of black and white bears in Zoo, Atlanta. The last left in the country, they do not have long either. In the deal negotiated by the zoo, the pandas are due to leave in 2024. And as of April, there have been no discussion about renewing it. Pandas have been symbolic in U.S.-China relations since 1972, when President Richard M. Nixon made his historic visit to Communist China, and Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai offered First Lady Pat Nixon 2 giant pandas, which ended up in Washington Zoo. It was a signal of improving ties between Beijing and the rest of the world, Tan said. And let me see. Here's a clip. I'll just play this clip.
The hill path is rather steep and it's not so easy to climb up probably, so we don't invite you to go up today.
Well, I'm game.
我还是可以的。
前面有一个
到前面那个店去看看。
去了吧，来不及了，来不及了。
Well, this is certainly a gorgeous sight. I'm so pleased.
这是个，这个地方简直是非常好看的。我非常高兴啊！你们给我安排了这样一个地方。
They must have seen a lot of people here.
She's coming over to see you.
Hi there.
So yeah, and the clip was pretty much from February of 1922. Slovakia 1972, where you had Pat Nixon pretty much observing the 2 pandas that she was pretty much gifted. So pretty much, like it said, China giving other countries, pandas was pretty much a sign of, their relationship, or to build relationships. But pretty much we already see how things are going between the U.S. and China right now, and China is pretty highly upset with the way things are going. So I'm just going to go to the book of Revelation, chapter 18, and I'm going to start at verse 9. And the headline reads, Lament for Babylon. Now, even though this is, going into after, or I wouldn't necessarily say after, while, America is pretty much being destroyed, it's still some relevance, in it. So this is the book of Revelation, chapter 18 and verse 9. And it says, the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. It's like he's standing afar off for fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. So yes, all these countries that pretty much bring their goods to America by way of these ships, they're going to see the smoke, because America is going to be destroyed. It's inevitable. It's going to happen, regardless if you wanted to or not. But, these other nations that are pretty much, gotten rich off of America, China being, one of the main nations, that has gotten rich off of America, So pretty much these merchants, these shipmasters that bring their goods, from their country over here, they're pretty much going to mourn because they're not going to be able to make any money, Then it's going to go into the things that they bring. And then again, like I said, in 1 hour, it's only going to take the Lord 1 hour to destroy this land. Verse 11, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and pearls, it's like an end of pearls, and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet, and all Thyine wood, and all manner vessels of ivory, and all manner vessels of precious wood, and of brass, and iron, and marble, and cinnamon, and odors, and ointments, and frankincense, and wine, and oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and this is the point I want to make, and beasts, and sheep, and horses, and chariots, and slaves, and souls of men. So yes, pretty much these are all the things that these merchants bring to America. But the point I wanted to bring out in verse 13 is beasts. Pretty much China, Slovakia, pretty much, again, like I said, China sends, pandas to other nations, as pretty much a sign of their relationship, because pretty much, if they're on good terms, then, they'll send them. Because as we know, for those that, like animals, like myself, they're interesting, they are interesting animals, beautiful as well. But overall, not just pandas, but, other animals as well, animals that pretty much aren't native to the land of America, that they brought over here. Because even, King Solomon, he sent his ships, his navy over here pretty much to, bring gold and apes and peacocks from over here, So this is pretty much what these other nations doing, They send, animals over here. Again, for example, because I don't want to harp on it too long, but like, you have lions, giraffes, pretty much, the animals that you will see in Africa, in India, and these various countries, they're all over here, But again, these nations are gonna mourn. The nations that pretty much send their goods over here, they're not gonna be able to make any money, So that's pretty much the point I want to bring out in that, China's, they're taking their pandas back. So they said that there's 2 in Washington and then there's 2 more in Atlanta. So pretty much there's 4 pandas left in, America right now. There's only going to be 2 left as of, next year until they take the last 2. And then it's the last thing I want to go into. Slocky. And this is from Yahoo. It says a New York student has been detained in Dubai for months for touching an airport security guard during a 10-hour layover. So I was going to go into this, and this will be it. It says a 21-year-old New York college student says she was detained in Dubai after a humiliating airport search. So just real quick, pretty much you can clearly see, she's a so-called black woman. Now, she should have learned from the other woman, that the truck driver that pretty much went over there and thought, she was going to yell at, whoever she yelled at and get away with it. Now, you women that go over there, of course, not the sisters, but, these women in the world, you women that go over there, to these other countries and think that you can get away with the same thing you get away with over here in America. You can't get away with that in these other countries, like raising your voice at men in various parts in the Middle East. Women can get put to death for these types of things. Slocky. If a woman isn't covered up, she could be arrested, or if she isn't, with a man, yet again, she's this another incident with a black woman in Dubai. And that should be a sign that you should just stop going over there, because again, it says she touched, the security guard. So I'm just going to read a little bit more. It says airport officials accused Elizabeth Polanco de los Santos of assault after she nudged one of them. So she may be Northern Kingdom, with a name like that. Possibly Issachar or Ephraim, but, she's Northern Kingdom. Slocky for that. Says several Americans have been prohibited from leaving Dubai by drummed up legal charges and scams. Says a 21-year-old New York student has been detained in Dubai after airport staffers accused her of assaulting and insulting them. Says Elizabeth Polanco de los Santos was traveling from Istanbul with a friend when the incident unfolded in mid-July, according to a press release from Detained in Dubai, an organization that provides advice and legal assistance to foreigners in the United Arab Emirates. The pair had a 10-hour layover in Dubai, which they chose over Paris, France. For Polanco de los Santos, those 10 hours have now stretched into multiple months. We thought it would be a more modern and futuristic city, but we were completely wrong. Slocky, I'm just going, say her last name, De Los Santos. But pretty much, like she said, she thought it was going to be a modern city, but they don't play that shit over there. Like, you can't put your hands on men, you can't raise your voice at men. There's still order, of things. You can't do the same things that you do over here in America in these other countries, primarily over there in the Middle East. They will arrest you or kill you. It's not America. You can't treat everywhere as if you're still here in America. It Says, as she went through the security screening, airport employees told her she needed to take off her doctor-mandated waist training brace. Despite her hesitation, she agreed and was ushered into a booth with female security officers who were rough as they removed the compressor. According to the press release, I felt violated, Polanco de los Santos said, adding that she was uncomfortable and afraid as she tried to put the waist trainer back on by herself, a process that takes two people. She cried and asked for help. The security guards didn't help and blocked her exit, at which point Polanco de los Santos lightly nudged one of them so that she could call out to her friend for help. The press release said I gently touched her arm to guide her out of the way, then desperately started crying to my friend for help, she said. Though the search came back clear, officials told her she'd be detained for touching the female customs officer and kept for hours as they filed the complaint. Says just filing a criminal or civil case against someone in Dubai triggers a complaint, a complicated legal process wherein the accused party is prohibited from leaving the country. In fact, local scammers are known for using such cases to extort foreigners for money, saying they'll drop the case in exchange for thousands of dollars. And they even mention it. It says a Texas woman was detained in Dubai for months after being accused of yelling, which her accusers said violated the nation's obscenity law. She was released after paying more than $1,000 to have the travel ban against her lifted. Rhonda Sterling, the CEO of Detained in Dubai, said people can end up detained in the UAE for years on bogus or minor charges. In another case Sterling is working on, a U.S. veteran has been detained in the country for years on what he says are false charges that he owes a debt to his children's school. Says for Polanco de los Santos, a student at Lehman College, the last few months moving from one hotel to another and waiting for court hearings have been miserable. Even if Elizabeth wins her case, 6 months or more of being forced to stay in the country at her own cost while under the very real threat of imprisonment is an unacceptable consequence of transiting through Dubai. Sterling said in the press release, this is simply no way to treat visitors. So that's pretty much the woman from Texas that got detained out there. So again, you women that go to these countries, primarily Dubai, you cannot treat them the same way that you would in America. They're different now. The laws in these other countries are different. So, you have to abide by their rules. Otherwise, things like this are going to happen. So I'm not even going to go into it too much. Here's the book of Proverbs, chapter 9 and verse 13. And it says, a foolish woman is clamorous. She is simple and knows nothing. So pretty much, if the woman had sense, now, yes, I thought she was a Judite woman, but she was actually Northern Kingdom, maybe Issachar or Ephraim or one of the other, Spanish speaking tribes, but pretty much all she had to do was just, take her waist trainer off and just, put it back on. Or just whatever, the guard pretty much wanted her to do. If it wasn't unreasonable, just to, comply, get in, get on with the search, and be out of there. But pretty much, you can't do those same things. Even here in America, it's still things that you can't do at the airport. If the guards want to search you, that's what they're going to do. If you're suspected of, bringing something on that you aren't supposed to have, or if, in her case, again, she had on a waist trainer. So, they pretty much, needed her to take it off just to make sure that, again, she was clear. But, it's madness, man. So you Israelite women, stay out of Dubai. If you haven't learned from the one woman, Sterling, learn from this one. Stay out of Dubai, because clearly they do not, just how can I put it? Pretty much they really don't even want us over there anyway, the Arabs, so-called Arabs, which is, the Ishmaelites, they hate us anyway. So pretty much, why give them a reason to be able to detain you and lock you up? They oppress us just like Esau oppresses us, And that's another thing. We have enemies, these other nations hate us, And I can bring out, other scriptures going into, the women, but, I just wanted to bring out that one, So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from, and I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. Till the next time I say Shalom.